Hey guys, Mustang here, bringing another Dragon Ball Z Dokkan battle video, and so today I have put the compilation together. I talked about this a little while ago. I can't actually remember the last unit that I did it with was, but this is how I'm going to do my big red zone boss no item compilations going forward, rather than do separate videos to show every single stage of a particular set. I'm just going to show the unit getting a no item run against the three big bosses, Omega Shenron, BROLY, and the Metal Cooler Core. Because at the end of the day, like, especially for the movie bosses and the GT bosses, they have 7 stages, and let's be honest, for these big new units, like, does anyone really care about seeing the first, like, 4 or 5 stages beaten with that team? They are obviously incredibly easy, so rather than do a bunch of separate videos like that, I figured it's easier to do the big 3 bosses. So I've got Piccolo's one up first. I've tried recording a funny theme team against BROLY and wasted all of my attempts, so I haven't gotten the Gohan run recorded yet, but we're starting off here versus Omega Shenron. We got pretty unlucky having both Piccolos on the first rotation. I've talked about this in previous videos before, but with Gohan and Piccolo, because they only get guard for 3 turns, if you have one of them on the first turn, it means you have to float them off, and then obviously when they come back again on turn 4, their guard is going to be gone, which is annoying when you're fighting against an int enemy especially, but fortunately, with all the support from the Gammas and the fact that Piccolo got hit a couple of times in the first turn, he's already putting out a 12 million attack stat here on turn 3, and then we have the rotation of Gamma 1 and 2 backing him up, so pretty sure this Sin phase is finished off quite promptly here. So obviously Piccolo, when it comes to the Omega stage, you have type disadvantage at the very end. So, especially if you choose to use the giant Piccolo form, or the orange Piccolo, which of course we do, if you don't get lucky with crits, it means that that part can potentially take quite a long time, which obviously would be annoying. So, we have Vegeta and Trunks on the team. I think this is one of the... I don't think I run them on the team on every single stage, but they can fit quite nicely on the team for some of these bosses and situations where once Piccolo's guard has run off, you don't really want to put him in slot 1, like this event with an int enemy. So having Vegeta on the Trunks on the team is pretty useful. And of course they count as a superheroes character, so they add towards the having the full superheroes ally rotation to get Piccolo's orange form off as early as possible. Obviously in this event I don't want to use it too early. Bit unfortunate with this turn in not getting the right key that we needed for Piccolo, but now that our rotations are getting a bit set up, we should be looking pretty good, because floating off that Piccolo on the previous turn obviously means we are going to end up in a situation where we have double Piccolo rotation, but I think by the time we get around to there, it's time to start thinking about maybe using the giant form. Although I think I do save both of them for the Int Omega phase, because the funny thing is, once you get to Int Omega, it's obviously very easy to plan around what you're going to do in that last phase, because we always know that he's going to super attack as the last attack in the second turn, and that's where Piccolo having the giant form can come in so useful, because you could, if you wanted to, just play out the first turn and then go orange in the second turn, and you know there's basically no risk of you getting killed. So, but yeah, Vegeta and Trunks able to hold down slot 1 here, nice and easy, getting some crits in there as well, tanking everything for double digits. Now I could have transformed the gods, but I figured that they had the potential, especially if they got a triple super, to actually finish them off, so I decided to go for some extra stacks. But as you can see, even without finishing him off, they still tank the normal attacks for double digit damage. I know sometimes in these harder events it is good to transform them straight away, because their super attacks when they're transformed give them such a huge defensive buff, and then they have the action break on the 18 key, and then obviously they have all the built-in dodging, so they can actually be okay transformed straight away. I know a lot of people don't like to do it, because obviously if you haven't gotten a lot of stacks off, then their defense and offense for like the active skill and everything is going to be lower. But against some of the harder bosses, if you don't transform them straight away, as soon as their guard runs out, so essentially their second appearance, they could get caught by some of the more hard-hitting attacks. But Anyway, we're into the orange Piccolo zone now, where we're going to see lots and lots of orange Piccolo. You probably should be aware, I should have mentioned it right at the beginning or put up a disclaimer or something, but obviously one of the things that makes Piccolo so good is this giant form that is very, very effective for, you know, just basically dishing out a ton of damage to these bosses without having to worry about taking damage yourself. I mean, we got 2 super attacks in the first slot, both of which crit, so they did almost 4 million damage to him. And all of this damage that we're doing is free. Like, he can't hurt us at all. And we're just chipping away at his HP, getting fairly lucky with some crits in here, which is obviously good considering the type disadvantage. You can see the huge difference though, 2 12 key supers there, and one of them did over 1 million damage more with the crit, so very important to get crits against type disadvantage. And then this rotation is interesting, unfortunately with both orange Piccolos and then STR Piccolo in the middle. I figured, you know, there's no guard left, right, why take the risk? We'll just transform into Piccolo again, and then if this orange form doesn't get lucky with the crits and we don't finish him off, we should be looking in a pretty good spot to be able to take him out in the final turn once we've de-transformed. So getting some good crits in there again, that's what we like to see. But yeah, like I say, strap in. You're going to be seeing the orange Piccolo super attack animations a lot during this run, or during this video, right? Because it's such an effective tool in his arsenal, just because it is so good. Like we've talked about in the past, I'm not a huge fan of giant forms or rage modes. Like AGL Cell is pretty good because it was guaranteed crits, so if you were getting some additionals, like he could do some okay damage. He probably had arguably the best rage mode / giant form in the game until Piccolo came out, and Piccolo's is just so much better than his, right? The fact that he has the chance to additional and gets tons of extra keys, so unless you do really have a bad field of orbs, it's kind of difficult to miss his 18 key super sometimes, and then he has the potential to super twice more in that slot, so definitely very, very strong. As you can see, we used both the orange Piccolo modes, and Omega is almost dead here. So if Omega was not int, then he absolutely would be dead, right? Because all of those attacks that weren't crits would have been doing a significant amount more damage. So, and even on like his untransformed super, like you can see, if we don't get the crits, then we're not doing crazy big damage. So, but yeah, this rotation practically unkillable at this point. And then yeah, both the Piccolos putting out crazy attack stats here, and we do get the crit, finish him off with the special beam cannon, and so that is the Omega stage taken down with no items. Pretty straightforward, but I mean, as you guys know from the tier list, I think Piccolo is #1. All 3 of these runs were done on the first attempt, essentially. So we'll go ahead and jump into BROLY now. So we're still running both the Gammas. I feel like Gamma 1 and 2 pretty much are like a staple for Piccolo's team. Gohan's 2 potentially, depending on how many hybrids you want to run with him. But Gamma 1 and 2, perfect for this team. I think the only change I would make is if we were fighting a very hard tech boss, maybe I would take Gamma 2 off. But Gamma 1 obviously still works very well on the team as the defensive option out of the 2. So, but I mean, this rotation together, you could quite easily one turn the STR BROLY phase, depending on how many additionals Gamma 2 actually gets, which, I mean, he only needed to do 2 supers, with the second one being a nice big crit there, and we're already onto the tech phase. So now for this one, funnily enough, I think this is the only stage out of the 3 that I bought in Pan, and it's the only one that she can't dodge on, so that might seem like an odd choice, but she's essentially just here for the support. And with the way that the BROLY fight is going to go, my plan is to use one orange Piccolo transformation to take out the AoE phase, and then use the second one to do some big damage to the AGL phase, and then potentially finish the AGL phase off before Pan actually ever, you know, gets put in harm's way. And I'm fairly sure with the way it plays out, that previous turn is, I think, the only turn where she's on rotation or has to eat, or actually has to take any attacks. So she essentially was just there for that like one turn of giving the extra support, because she does give 50% support to Piccolo. So even though you know, she's not fitting in very well with him with links or anything like that. She's not supporting... I don't think she supports anyone... Actually, no, she'll support God Goku for the full 50% as well. Because, yeah, superheroes and then Bond of Master and Disciple and Bond of Parent and Child get the extra, isn't it? So she can be pretty good. She doesn't support the full team, but, I mean, her just being there in slot 3 for this turn. We only get the 18 key super thanks to that 2 key little boost from his passive, which I absolutely love about this unit. I've mentioned it before, but I feel like that's an underrated aspect that people don't talk about enough. The fact that you can use Piccolo as a slot 1 unit, and when he gets hit that first time, he gives everybody, including himself, an extra 2 key. Super beneficial, especially running the rotation of him and Gohan together. That 2 key has often been the difference between me actually getting 20 key for Gohan or not. So definitely very, very good. But here we go again with the Orange Olympics. Just repeated Orange Piccolo super attack animations to take out the Broly AoE phase here. Because for any no item run, the AoE phase is the most dangerous. The interesting thing when we come to do Gohan's one is, of course, the fact that Gohan has the chance to nullify the super attack completely, although it'll only be in terms of the damage that it does to him. But that is super beneficial, especially considering that he is physical. But that's going to be some big RNG related there, because if he doesn't negate the super, especially if Broly supers before he does, then it's basically an instant GG right there. So, but once we get through, like I say, I've already used my attempts for today, but once we get them back, I'll be trying to record the Gohan run. I should have done that before the gimmick one, but I'm not going to tell you guys what it is yet. But if I actually manage to do the gimmick one, I think that'd be an awesome run and it'll make a great video. So I was a bit too excited, and I wasted all my attempts trying to do that when I should have got the Gohan run recorded first. But yeah, it is what it is. We're not getting super lucky with the crits here with Piccolo, unfortunately. So as you can see, we get very lucky and get the extra turn of the giant form here, and that is what is able to allow us to finish him off, or at least that's how I remember it playing out. It's funny, I was so into talking about the gimmick runs I wasn't paying attention, so I'm assuming this is the 3rd turn. That's how I remember it when I recorded it anyway. I remember at the time thinking it was very lucky that we got that extra turn, because you know, the one thing you don't want to do is not kill him as Orange Piccolo and then he AoE supers in slot 1 on the turn where you detransform, which, funnily enough, we still didn't finish him off. Did not get lucky with the crits. Maybe I didn't get the 3rd turn. I should have been watching that more carefully, but you guys saw what happened, so. But we get very lucky. There's no attacks in slot 1, so Piccolo doing all the work, technically, because even untransformed, Piccolo soloed the AoE Broly, so very, very good. And then we have the Piccolo and Gamma's rotation. Now, I think, yeah, I do just pop this straight away, yeah. There's no reason not to, really. And yeah, just start wearing down AGL Broly, get 2 lots of 24 key straight away in this first turn. And now we don't have to worry too much about whether or not we're getting crits, because we have type advantage. Although you can see Broly, you know, still does have quite a lot of HP. Those 2 super attacks off, not even 1 full bar, but as the super attacks keep coming, that HP pool just keeps dropping. See, now we're getting all the crits. Now that we're against the AGL one, I think, is this my one and the previous one was the friend? Because I did give mine quite a decent amount of crit. Mine is full mix of crit and additional. He has no dodge. He's one of the few units in my entire box that doesn't have 3 dodge, because he needs to get hit early on to get that build up, and then, you know, there are very, very few occasions in the game. I think it's like slot 1 Metal Cooler Core Super is pretty much like the only thing that can kill Piccolo, so I feel like I didn't need to give him any dodge. And once we get to the point where, like, power creep will have gotten to the point where him having some dodge might actually be useful, I imagine that's going to be so far in the future I probably will have pulled spare copies to be able to fix his hidden potential, because my Piccolo has 2 dupes, so knowing my luck, the next time he comes back on a banner, I'm going to pull those 2 dupes before I pull the new unit. And then by the time the game gets power crept into the point where he needs dodge, I'll have probably pulled at least one more copy, so I could at least give him that 3 dodge if I wanted to. But for now, he is one of the only units in my box that does not have 3 dodge. Because I really feel like in the current meta, he just doesn't need it, right? So, but yeah, here we are, still going ham, still running a orange beatdown on BROLY here. Get another super in, should finish off that health bar. I mean, look at this. That's what? We're going to have done like 80% of his health in one Orange Piccolo transformation. I mean, that's why Orange Piccolo is the GOAT right here. Look at this. Our man is almost dead already. So I decided for sheer optimal, let's finish off, you know, the run as quickly as possible. I put Gamma 2 in slot 2. If I wanted to play for safety, I could have put Gamma 1 there, because if he supers, if the unit in slot 2 doesn't kill and he supers them, I felt like Gamma 1 could have potentially died. So if the unit getting hit in slot 2 is potentially going to die anyway, I might as well make it Gamma 2, and we'll see if he has one of those turns where he goes crazy and does a bunch of supers. But with all the damage that Piccolo did, he didn't even need to do that many. 2 supers, no crit needed, and yeah, we finish off BROLY. So BROLY being AGL, Orange Piccolo just absolutely stomped him into the ground. So last but not least, we have the Metal Cooler Core stage. Again, not many changes to the team for this one. God Goku is back on the team. We still have the LR Gods, and then we have Gamma 1 and Gamma 2. So I feel like this is probably the best build of this team. If you want to run a full superheroes team to make it, you know, use the transformation as early as possible, this is probably the best way to go about it. Our boy Gamma 1 able to counter the super against the Metal Cooler army, which is definitely very cool. He would tank it reasonably well, but yeah, just taking 0 damage, I will absolutely take that. Now, I mentioned it in the solo video I did for Orange Piccolo versus the Metal Cooler Core, but this fight is really, really good for Piccolo because you can't end the fight early by accidentally killing like the enemy, right? So there's no danger of you taking him out. So as long as there's a slot that has a load of attacks in it, you can just put Piccolo there and he's basically going to get his full build-up on turn 1, potentially, or even at least by the end of turn 2. So by the time you finished off the Metal Cooler army, your Piccolo that's was on turn 1 and then turn 3 should be fully built up, which obviously is going to be very good for the core. And then, of course, the Piccolo who's on turn 2 is still going to have a turn of guard when you start the Metal Cooler Core. And that is very, very important. I think against Metal Cooler Core, this is one of the stages where if you had both the Piccolos on turn 1, you would definitely be in a very bad spot, right? Because you float one of them off, he comes back for the first time on the first turn of the actual Metal Cooler Core, but now his guard has run out. And so that's going to be a little bit awkward. So Gamma 1 getting the super attack counter again. What a legend. So Gamma 1 definitely earning his spot on the team here. I float off the STR Piccolo because he is the only unit on the team that isn't a Dragon Ball Super Heroes character. So he's the one that basically stops Piccolo from being able to use his giant form as early as possible. So by floating him off, it means we get into a situation like this where we can just go ahead, pop that active skill straight away, and then it is Orange Piccolo time. Now, in the solo video that I did, we got really unlucky with crits. Somebody even made a comment in the comment section of that video that the entire like orange transformation, like I think only did like 1.5 health bars or something like that, because we got very unlucky with the crits. But you can see though just how much HP Metal Cooler has when, like here for example, we do 1.3 million damage, and look how little his health bar went down. Like, he has a ridiculous amount of HP. In one turn, we took off 1 full health bar and then like a little bit extra. So Metal Cooler Core does have a ridiculous amount of HP, but I guess it is the only downside to the Orange Piccolo transformation, is that there definitely is that RNG factor. Like, if you're not getting crits, you're not getting all the additional supers, then obviously he's not going to look as good as he could if you're dropping, like, you know, obviously he's not going to triple super every slot, but if you're dropping like 6 or 7 supers in the one turn and you're getting crits on like all of them, then obviously he's going to look really, really good. But even on the non-crit super, we're still doing 1,000,000 damage, and these are attacks that we are doing for free. Like, we are at literal no risk of dying here, and we get the 3rd turn with Orange Piccolo. So this is not something that's going to happen all the time, but it's just yet another thing that makes Piccolo so good, right? The fact that you can actually just go ahead and get a 3rd turn of the orange transformation as well. So all of this damage we're just dishing out to the Metal Cooler Core for free. Now I will say, in terms of like for the video and just like content in general, I guess it becomes a little bit less exciting. I don't know, like even like playing it, I guess it's like Orange Piccolo is kind of like the win mode button, right? Because even though we haven't like finished off a boss completely with him, it's just kind of the smart play, right? It's like you get to the end of the event, you go to the orange mode, you dish out an absolute ton of damage, you watch Orange Piccolo do those super attacks over and over and over again, and he just lays waste to the enemy, and yeah, you're in a good spot. So look at this, just tanking all of those attacks, dropping a nice big attack stat with a crit as well, 7.6 mil on that special beam cannon. And then we got the gods in a very nice safe spot on the end, where if there's one or no attacks, you don't even have to worry about them taking damage, because the 18 key obviously does the action break. And then here we are in this beautiful spot yet again, where we've got Piccolo and the Gammas. And I decided, just as a little bit of a flex, I was pretty confident that our boys would be able to finish off the core on this turn, so I actually decided to not use the second Piccolo's orange form. And funnily enough, this was the run I actually recorded first out of the 3, so it's kind of fitting that for the end of the video you guys don't have to sit through another, like, you know, 10 or so Orange Piccolo super attacks. And wait, did all of these end with Gamma 2 with the KO screen as well? I think they might have done, but there you go. Orange Piccolo and his team taking down all 3 of the big red zone bosses. I actually didn't mention specifically before, but I deliberately didn't use Gohan on the team because I want to do Gohan his own set of videos, and I won't be using Piccolo on his team. So, but there you go. Orange Piccolo takes down all 3 of the main red zone bosses with no items. Absolute best unit in the game. Let me know your thoughts down below. Hopefully you guys have been able to pull at least one copy of him and experience this greatness, but let me know your thoughts down below in the comments section. So that is going to be it for the video, guys. This has been the Masked Ningen. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new. Check out the links down below for the Discord and the merch store, and I will see you all again soon. Have a good one.